All right, how is it going, everyone? Apparently, my phone can start video on its own. So we're gonna trust in coincidence, and we're gonna go ahead and start the video. I think I nodded, and it triggered some kind of something. Alrighty, I hope you are all having a great day so far. Uh-oh, looks like some of my pages are coming out of my binder here. Un moment, one moment, please. Thank you for your patience. We will get started in just a second. Okay. We are on day 17 already. Path 27, Pay Parfaxitas, or Parfaxitas, however you want to say it. Cletus, brother of Parfaxitas. Anyway, we are in the path of Parfaxitas, which is the shadow of the tower. Show the image here. Take a screenshot of that if you like. Alrighty. Grab a pen and paper if you wish. Grab a drink, something to hydrate with. Got a little bit of water with a pinch of salt, not iodized salt, sea salt. Okay, let's get started. The 27th tunnel is under the aegis of Parfaxitas, whose number is 450. His name should be vibrated on a deep, imperious note of command in the key of C, lower register, and the sound should be reminiscent of thunder. All right. His sigil should be drawn in a bright red pigment on an emerald square. 450 is the number of THN, meaning dragon. It is the root of Leviathan. See note, page 217, Supra. Tan, feminine, Tanith, or Tanit, is the great dragon of the deep that manifests on earth as Babylon, the woman or priestess specially consecrated to the work of the draconian current. The formula of Parfaxitas is that of the 8th degree OTO, which comports the assumption of astral animal forms for the reification of atavistic energies. It is described in detail by Asenath Mason, or Spare, who refers to the process as that of atavistic resurgence. See note. See Images and Oracles of Asenath Mason, Part 2. In the cult of the Black Snake, the formula is known as de mistel lycanthropique. De mistel lycanthropique. I'm learning French, folks. The mystery of lycanthropy, which Michael Berthiaume describes as the mystery of the Red Temple of Atlantean magic in its first form. Holy cow. The mystery of the Red Temple of Atlantean magic in its first form, which involves magical transformation into were-animals for sexual magic. In its second form, it is known as Atavikie, Ataviquier, Atavikie, which is analogous to Spare's formula of atavistic resurgence. The OTO version of this formula involves the solitary sex working of the magician, who wears an animal mask consonant with the nature of the atavism he intends to reactivate. So, if you check in my community posts, I don't think I have it around. If you check in my community posts, you can click on the channel logo and then up at the top, you'll see like playlists, videos, and then all the way to the right, it'll say community. If you click on that and scroll down, just at the point of the time this video was made, scroll down just a few, there's a post where I gave my meditation on what I called Anthropoda clyphotheca, which are essentially the arthropods or bugs of the Qliphoth, of the shadow energies. What you can do with this is assume these forms if they resonate with you, or use it as a template for your own meditations. That is all I intend for any of this to be. This is not intended to be dogma or ideology in any way. This is all templates, formulas, with which you can translate any way you see fit to your own will. Moving on. Some magicians wear an actual mask throughout the rite in order that the astral assumption may gain substance thereby, but this is a matter of personal preference. At the moment of the seed's emission, the God form is projected beyond the aura of the magician and nourished by its energy. It then reifies on the astral and sometimes on the etheric plane, where it unites sexually with a similar entity projected by a priestess working in the same rite. A successful working is understandably rare. Depends how you define successful, I suppose. But in cases where the entities attain an objective existence, the result of their congress is such that a very powerful vortex of energy is generated at astral levels of consciousness, etheric as well, as I define them. And then it becomes possible to suck into this vortex the superhuman energies of primal atavisms. Okay, so I just opened a can of worms. Let me close it quickly. In my philosophy currently, I will typically address things as wind, fire, water, and earth. There are different orders of those elements depending on whether you're working in alchemy, whether you're working with the Golden Dawn, whether you're working with Ayurveda, whatever. But I work from gross to subtle. So wind being psychic, mental, thought plane. Fire being the etheric, feeling, will plane. Water being the astral, memory, symbolic plane. Yes, I understand that sigils and symbols relate to wind, but for purposes of this, we'll keep symbols in water, and then earth, physical, practical plane. Now, how I currently define and understand etheric and astral planes, the easiest way for me to express them is the etheric plane is the bioelectric, the electromagnetic, prana, chi, mana force that permeates and typically frames the physical plane. This book is not shaped like an apple. It's shaped the way it is because its molecules are being held together by a subtle force, which can be likened to electromagnetism and therefore the etheric plane. The astral plane is basically divided into two areas, upper and lower. We could get so deep into that it's another subject, but typically the mind's eye is what I see as the upper astral plane, and the actual gate through which the mind's eye connects you to more subtle and higher realms where you have lucid dreaming, out of body astral projective experiences is the lower astral plane, or you could call them the outer and inner, or you could switch them lower and upper. Again, this is nothing but a template. Now moving on. Sorry for opening that can of worms. I did my best to close it as quickly as possible. Okay. The tunnel of Parfaxitas is littered with hybrid creatures, resulting from imperfectly performed operations of this nature. Oh, yeah. I suspect that most of the little gremlins and ghouls and goblins and things that I witness in the astral are typically things that I've either created by accident or by mistake, or that other people in my sphere have generated. Uh, I've wondered about that, or I wondered if they were already there. It's an interesting question. The animals traditionally associated with this ray are the owl and the wolf, hence le mystère lycanthropique. I'm probably butchering that. The number of Parfaxitas is 450. The number of Parfaxitas, 450, is that of K, SH, PIM, meaning incantations, witchcrafts, sorceries, and of PSHO, transgression. I love this because it reminds me of chemistry. I'll show this to the best of my ability. The way that these letters are combined is it's very reminiscent of molecules. Anyway, moving forward. PSHO, transgression, which in this context denotes a crossing over into the astral or spirit world. This is confirmed by the word ATHMCH, also 450, to be crucified, which signifies the crossing over from bodily to spiritual awareness. See note, The Cults of the Shadow, Chapter 2. The word ATHMCHA derives from the Egyptian macha, meaning balance, level, or crossing. The sigil of Parfaxitas depicts a fortress with a door and 2 windows, eyes, superimposed upon the letters SUE. See note. SUE may be an abbreviation of the first name of Crowley's Scarlet Woman at the time he received this sigil. Maybe. I mean, that's possible. Other examples of the inclusion of personal names in the transmitted writings or holy books may be cited. See, for instance, verses 1 and 2 of Liber, 66? Equinox 1:6. Liber 65, 5:45. Equinox 3. See also the Bag-i Muattar, BAGH-I-MUATTAR. The sigil of Parfaxitas depicts a fortress with a door and 2 windows, eyes, superimposed upon the letters SUE, the number of which is 71, which is the number of Lam, Lam, or Lam, 5. See page 125. Google Crowley, capital L, capital A, capital M, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And have fun with that rabbit hole. Or wormhole. Depends what you find. The fortress is magically protected by the letters MVND VSD 170. See note. The fortress is a form of the tower, the symbolism of which has been treated in part L. Okay. The fortress is magically protected by the letters MVNDVSD 170. The number 71 is that of Alil, which means nothing, an apparition, or image, ALIL, and serves to show the astral or non-physical nature of the formula of Parfaxitas. It is also the number of CHZVN, Chazon, vision, and of AIMK, thy terror. It is also the number of silence, on the other hand. 170 is active and is the number of MQL, the wand, or baculus, i.e., the phallus of the magician, as well as other things. It is also the number of Nephilim, N-P-I-L, meaning a giant, the mythical designation of a god or extraterrestrial being from the Egyptian word Neper, M-E-P-R, a god. See note. See chapter 7. The two numbers together denote the formula of the 8th degree OTO, which involves the use of the turret of silence and of the tower of Shaitan, i.e. the wand, in which isolation it conjures images or visions from the void. The path above this tunnel is consecrated to works of wrath and vengeance, which shows the markedly martial nature of the current, which in the tunnel beneath it is interpreted in the form of primal atavisms. Furies and werewolves haunt its shadows, and the sword is the magical weapon associated with the deities Mentu, Mars, and Horus, the flaming god, who rages through the firmament with his fantastic spear. See note. Liber liberi vel lapidis lazuli. Crowley, chapter 7, verse 3. That's a beautiful alliteration. Liber liberi vel lapidis lazuli. Lapidus lazuli. Okay. The two numbers together denote the formula of the 8th degree OTO, which involves the use of the turret of silence and the tower of Shaitan, i.e. the wand, in which isolation it conjures images or visions of the void. Okay, we already read that. My apologies. Furies and werewolves haunt its shadows, and the sword is the magical weapon associated with the deities Mentu, Mars, and Horus, the flaming god who rages through the firmament with his fantastic spear. According to Liber 231, he smote the towers of Wailing. He brake them in pieces in the fire of his anger, so that he alone did escape from the ruin thereof. Careful, folks. As Sholem, presumably Gershom Sholem, as Sholem has pointed out, C note, on the Kabbalah and its symbolism by Gershom G. Sholem, Routledge and Keegan Paul, 1965. As Sholem has pointed out, the concepts of divine wrath are connected with the purgative current, with which, in its primary sense, is the purgation associated with the feminine cycle. The blood shed by the female at the time of puberty was the purifying or redeeming water of life. This was the first blood sacrifice. It was also the first sacrament. See note. See Aleister Crowley and the Hidden God. The blood shed in battle was a secondary form of the symbolism and pertained to Mars and the Martian current. It is in the primary sense of purgation that the expression works of wrath and vengeance should be understood. Fevers and wounds are the disease typical of Path 27, also inflammation, the redness of which is symbolic of the wound of puberty. For the first gash being the female cleft with its issue of blood. Hence the sword, as the cleaver or splitter open, is symbolic of the vagina, and was so interpreted in the primitive astronomical mysteries. See note. The celestial Great Mother was symbolized by the constellation known as the haunch, or thigh. This was continued in the symbolism of the sickle attributed to Saturn, the later planetary representative of the primal goddess in the heavens. The precious stone associated with this 27th kala is the ruby or red stone. The characteristic plants are rue, peppers, and absinthe, all noted for their fiery qualities. All right. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them below. Here is the image again. Parfaxitas, the shadow of the tower. All right. Break the bonds of consensus reality. Connect psyche and soma. Dare to channel heightened sexual aggressive energies in service of the will. Parfaxitas evokes dark shadow forces of explosive intensity. The yantra provides a means of integrating these into the personality without shattering its fragile vessel. The tide is high. The energy is rising all around us, its force falling like a comet shower from the stars. Upon altars of flame, with knives like crystals, the neuronaut is blasted, spiraling, yab-yum DNA mutation into atavisms of far future selves. Twin turrets of silence, yoni eyes, yet mute and closed, balance upon the towers of Shaitan. Eyes of the infinite, negative source of all positivity, we tremble at their terrible openings to come upon Lamb's bidding, or Lam's bidding. That inscrutable guardian, angelic archetype, humanity's higher self, pulling us forward into what we, the human species, might become. The portal of this tunnel is the death posture, self-love, eroto-comatose lucidity. The formula equals Thanatos plus Eros, Thanateros even. The formula equals Thanatos plus Eros, love and death played against the night black of Saturn. Primeval goddess in the heavens, whose moist womb the resultant entity materializes. In whose moist womb the resultant entity materializes. Cats howling, threatening faces of owls have been carved with migraneous art into the Aztec calendar, adorned with skulls of alien beings not unlike ourselves. While hybrid creatures born of imperfect rites performed, elemental automata, and demons of personal subconsciousness rule the blackened void that, in betweenness state, which is the pathway between ecstasies. Kenneth Grant, Nightside of Eden. Parfaxitas meditation. In the tunnel of Parfaxitas are the powers to channel heightened sexual and aggressive energies in service of one's will. In Parfaxitas, we find ability to connect psyche and soma for willed mutation of consciousness and DNA, expanding conscious reality to assimilate pre-bicameral breakdown primitive modes, with the admission into psyche of pre-human, non-human, post-human atavisms. In Parfaxitas, we break the bonds of consensus reality and mutate consciousness via congress with cosmic rays. Excuse me. Miscegenation, M-I-C-E-G-E-N-A-T-I-O-N. Excuse me. Thinking about the Twin Towers and how very rapid change came after that. Moving on. Miscegenation, M-I-C-E-G-E-N-A-T-I-O-N, with alien forms. In Parfaxitas, we dare to stretch the definition of our humanness. Wasn't that right? Yeah, 2001, like a new millennium. I apologize, folks. I'm going to concentrate now. Mm. In Parfaxitas, we dare to stretch the definition of our humanness, reaching for extraterrestrial realities that adumbrate our future selves, pushing evolution from primitive mammalian pre-programmed linear time circuits which bind us to social sexual selves, and to our own meta-programming of collective neurogenetic circuitry. Heirs of Prometheus Rising and Robert Anton Wilson. Alrighty. Lack of success in channeling these difficult energies can lead to twisted, self-destructive acts, sadomasochistic sex, joy and violence as servant of Kali Shiva Mars. And Parfaxitas is the world of outlaws, leather freaks, street gangs, piercings, punks, the sexual energy and violent power of disenchanted youth screaming to be heard. Makes sense. Pei represents the mouth. Need to work with Parfaxitas is found when we find ourselves embroiled in issues of violence, where we find non-violence born of fear of violence, whereas experienced fear of excitement, chaos, change. There may be fear and abhorrence of outer states of consciousness and post-industrial mutant modes of being. Here is clinging to tradition, to safety, and sanity as defined by narrow consensus reality. Here is a cherishing of fantasies of a never-existent, civilized, peaceful human past. I mean, I'm not going to go there. And Parfaxitas' dangerous society failing to integrate the raw power of this tunnel, summed up in the corresponding dayside tarot cards' ancient title, War. What is it good for? Okay. Tunnels of Set. Path working. All right. Again, begin with raising your energy through the chakras and assuming the spider form. That is it says to raise energy, take the spider form. I don't want to get too much into theory and ideology, so I don't typically read that. As you gaze at the sigil, chant or vibrate the name of the guardian to attune your consciousness to the frequency of the tunnel. At the same time, envision the image coming alive, moving and growing, until you see it spreading before you like a landscape you can enter. Clouds of thick smoke emerge from the image, flowing into the ritual space and enveloping around you. They carry a fragrance of a strong fiery incense, charging the atmosphere in the temple with sparkles of electricity. When you get to this point, extinguish the candles, close your eyes, and with the image building up in your inner mind, send a message to the guardian of the tunnel to guide you into the depths of the realm. Visualize that for a moment everything fades away and the whole world disappears. Then the darkness around you crystallizes into a scene. You are in a desolate landscape, and the only thing you see there is a huge black tower, cracked and shattered at the top, with blood pouring on all its walls. This blood forms a mount. It says a mount around the tower. Does it mean moat? This blood forms a moat around the tower. It is hot, almost boiling, and fills the whole landscape with blood-red mist. Perhaps it is a moat. Above the tower, you can see something that can either be a sun or a moon, a huge disk, and the color of rotting meat. I can smell it. It shoots rays of energy that surround the tower and make it invisible for those who are not ready to walk through this path. Suddenly, you can see a huge bird of prey flying down from the top of the tower. It looks like an eagle, but its claws are made of lightning bolts. It is here to guide you. Follow it to the entrance of the tower, which is marked by the sigil shining on the door. and then go inside, also guided by the bird. Inside the tower, you find complete silence. The tunnel itself looks like an endless corridor filled with water and lit by pale golden blue light. This network of tunnels connects many places and many dimensions. Let the senses of the guardian guide you through the labyrinth and open yourself to whatever this journey might bring. When the whole experience is over, travel back to your physical body, close the working, and return to your normal consciousness, or an even more grounded one if you so choose. That is it for this one. I hope that you are enjoying this series so far. I know that I am. It's fun to review things that I have not read in years. It's fun to talk about things with other people that I think about myself. If you have a comment or a question or a concern, please leave it below. I believe that's all for this one, other than, in the spirit of the tower, allow your passions to destroy. Allow your positive passions to destroy your limitations that your psyche, that your psychic and mental, intellectual modes have built around you to try to keep you safe, to try to prepare you. The path of the tower connects Netzach and Hod, or Orab Zarok and Samael, if we're speaking of the shadow. In many ways, Netzach represents passion. I think of Netzach as sort of the Dionysian sphere, as many do, and Hod as the hermetic. That's a good way to think of it. It's very hermetic, as opposed to being sealed and studious, as opposed to being in a group of others celebrating. And in almost every instance of the tower, you'll notice that the lightning bolt goes from the right to the left. That is perhaps a symbol or a nod to the idea that, and this is not an idea of mine. Many people have talked about this idea. This is an idea that we can allow our passion, our being in the moment of celebration, to break us free. It doesn't even necessarily have to destroy, just to break us free of our limitations, the things that we always do, the things that are holding us back potentially. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you have a good rest of the day, good rest of the week, good rest of the month, good rest of the year. And yeah, take care. Thanks for stopping by.